What is meditation to you? In today's video, I thought I would break down what meditation means to me. I've got this channel and I've been sharing hundreds of videos about meditation and what experiences mean and how to grow on your spiritual path, but I've never really broken down what meditation actually is. I've been involved in meditation since I was 6 years old, as pretty much everyone on the channel knows. So to me, we're human beings, and as human beings, we're playing a role. So it's very much like an actor. It's very much like if an actor got selected to do the part in a film, but the actor, after so many years of doing the role, playing the role, actually forgot who they were before they became the actor. And they're then stuck in this role, believing that they are the person whose role they're playing. And being a human being is very similar to that. We come down to the physical realm to have a human experience. We're not human beings. This body isn't mine. The name that I take on is not me. It's very much temporary. It's part of this act. But over many, many lifetimes, we've become consumed by the world. We've become attached to the world, and we've actually forgotten who we were before we became a physical being, before we experienced this human existence. But at some point along the journey, quite often it's when people will reach a point of immense hardship and suffering, because oftentimes we don't strive for change until we feel deprived so much of something. So often for people, that is peace and comfort and contentment. They feel absolutely deprived of that because life takes them to the lowest of lows, and then they suddenly turn and think, I need to make a change. And at that point, when we start then directing ourselves more towards understanding who we really are and getting more peace of mind and becoming more comfortable and developing ourselves, that's when we start then to take, more consciously at least, to the spiritual path and start pursuing this goal really of understanding who we really are beyond the mind and body. And in order for us to take that journey, in order for us to go from ignorance, i.e. not knowing who we are or thinking with this mind and body, to actually experientially understanding who we are, that needs a process or a vehicle or a tool. And meditation is that tool, or a tool. It's not the only tool. You can pray, you can do mantra, you can devote yourself to the divine. There's many, many different ways. But meditation is a tool to help you close that gap of, I don't know who I am, and I want to forget for a period of time who I think I am, and delve deeper into the abyss and start to experientially understand who I am. And so meditation is really a vehicle where we begin to let go of who we think we are for some time. So when you sit down, typically when you sit down in meditation, you will have thoughts that come up, and all of the thoughts are associated with who you are at the moment. So it may be commentary from who you think you are at the moment. It could be thoughts related to your life. It could be thoughts related to work, family, all sorts of nonsense, memories that come up. It could be emotions, feelings. All of these things are tied to the separate self. They're tied to the individual, but you're not the individual. You're not the human. And that's important, an important distinction to make with yourself, because then it's easier for you to understand why we have to let these things go in meditation. Like, what's the point in sitting down, being still, and focusing our mind, for example, on the breath? What is the point in that? How does that help me spiritually? Well, it first off enables you to begin to forget the body, because you're not the body. So when you get to a certain state in meditation, or when you develop and you gain experience and you can begin to actually forget the body a little bit, to some extent you will always be aware of it, but when you have deeper experiences, you will let go of it. You're being shown experientially that you're not the body. And it doesn't mean that you need to have an OBE, an out-of-body experience. It doesn't mean that you need to have some profound thing take place necessarily, although those things are better, not better, but they confirm more accurately for yourself that you're not the body. But it begins to direct your awareness inward rather than outward. Outward into the world of illusion is going to keep you engaged in life. And we're, as spiritual beings, although we're living as a human being, we're trying to get back to understanding who we are spiritually. So we have to an extent, retract our senses. So the senses are always directed outward into the world. So in meditation, we do the opposite. We close our eyes. We keep the body still. We don't become consumed by the thinking, because all of the thinking generally is associated with the world. And we observe the breath. But the breath is just a neutral nothingness, really. It gives the mind somewhere to sit that isn't on anything that it can create some kind of activity from. It gives you something to observe that isn't yourself. And in doing that, what you'll find is your consciousness will begin to expand. Your consciousness will begin to broaden. And many of us, when we take to meditation, we think we're the ones that are meditating. But what you'll come to understand and realize more, if this isn't something that you understand already, is that we're not the doers. We think we're the ones that are meditating. All we really do is we sit down and we show intent by showing up. But the divine is the energy or the essence that meets us there. And when that communion takes place, that's true meditation. When you're becoming divine, when you're experiencing yourself as the divine more and more, that's a true form of meditation. But we're not the ones that do it, which is a really important distinction to make clear. And this can be understood in a different way. If I say to you that, we've got this physical body, and people will often say, oh, I achieved such and such experience. I achieved such financial success and grew my business to such an extent that I'm now financially free. They take all the credit for themselves. But what they forget to remind themselves of is that the body that they use to do that has so many functions that take place without them doing a thing. So their heart beats without them trying. They breathe without thinking about it. The digestive system works without any conscious thought at all. So the very vehicle that they used in order to become financially free or financially successful wasn't under their management, or only to a small degree, but there's many functions that take place without them even knowing. Yet they say they're the ones that achieved it. So can you see the gap there in truth? How it's only a partial truth that you got somewhere or you achieved such and such thing. Meditation is the same. Yes, we show up. Yes, we need to make the effort. Yes, we have to sit down and make time and, sacrifice something, which might be half an hour's worth of sleep, or, rather than watching a film at night, you go and sit down and meditate for half an hour. So yes, there's sacrifice and we have to put in some small amount of effort. But what happens from there really isn't much of our doing. The doing part comes from the divine. And this is a really important distinction that people have to understand, because it humbles you. It rather than making you proud, which is where spiritual ego comes in, it actually humbles you and makes you realize that you aren't what you think you are. And that the very part of you that you're actually trying to understand is the thing that's actually controlling everything. But you don't understand that yet, or you've not realized yourself as that yet. So in a long-winded way, meditation is a tool that takes you from ignorance to experiential understanding. And it is a vehicle to take you out of this role of an actor that you've become consumed in, and I've become consumed in, and allow us to remember and experience who we really are, to eventually when we get to the point where we say, I'm now back in the role that I was always in, and the role that I thought I was, i.e. the human being, is now just something that I do as a job. It's now just something that I do as my acting role, but I'm not it. So as Jesus said, in the world, but not of the world. In the role of the actor, but not of the actor. Meditation is really you transitioning into who you really are, which is the divine. So in a sense, it's a communion with God. But you're not the one that does it. You're just the one that shows up. The rest of it happens by the grace of the divine. And there are many factors that kind of come into play when understanding why things happen and why things don't happen, many of which we will never understand. So you're better off not trying to understand it and just going with the flow. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. If you guys enjoy this type of video, I'm happy to do a much deeper, much longer, in-depth video on this. But I just wanted to put this out there as my interpretation and belief as to what meditation really is, based on my 20 odd years of experience with meditation. If you're interested in being part of an online school, I'll leave a link in the description to my online school. It's called the Inner Journey School. We teach meditation in there. There's an amazing community, so feel free to join us. Failing that, I'll see you on the next video.